we are live.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So we're starting our weekly design conversations. My name is Katie.
And my name's Joe.
So we're broadcasting from Katie Malik Interiors in Cambridge. And we wanted to quickly update you on what we've been doing very, very quickly. And then we'll get talking about budgets, like we promised and announced on social media. So it's been it has been quite a busy week again, which is great. Yesterday we went to London Design Week.
Oh, that was fun.
That was a lot of fun. We were inspired by some beautiful new collections, stunning pieces. We would like to steal everything, basically, especially from our favorite showroom, Abbott and Boyd, which distributes one of our favorite fabrics from a few different suppliers, such as Elitis France, there's Création Métaphore, there's Spanish Gaston and Daniela, there's French Louis de Berval. So there's a lot of beautiful collections, and we've been very well briefed by lovely Zahit, who always keeps us up to date. And also, I think the girls had nose around while I was delivering a presentation.
Yes.
Is there anything else that interesting that you've seen?
In Abbott and Boyd or in the show?
In the show.
Oh yeah, we had a great walk around. We didn't get to see as much as is always the case. You don't get to see as much as you want to because you get chatting with all the suppliers. And there was quite a few new suppliers that had little they'd set up within the design
center.
center.
That was interesting. So they're not permanently based there, but they had like pop-up. I think.
Yeah, they were pop-ups.
Yeah.
And there was some very interesting. We talked to a couple of fabric designers who were very into sustainability and knowing where everything was made, all the hand woven materials.
They know their stuff.
Yeah, they know their stuff. They know that even though they do use weavers in India and in Bangladesh, they're all protected
which is very
factories, and they're visited every 2 months. So it was just so interesting that how people are really now being aware, and our new colleagues Alison and Greta were asking lots of questions about where things came from and how well that they were protected. So I was really interested in that.
Yes.
And then we went to Nina Campbell. We went to loads of places, but
so
still
we're not
didn't
gonna
scrape the surface.
Yes, we would probably take the whole hour just to tell you about our visit. But yes, we had a very, very successful visit in the harbour. So greatly inspired, working on several projects. But let's get moving and let's start talking about the budgets, because this topic has been inspired by Joe. As Joe said, Katie, why don't we talk about budgets? It always seems to be, not an issue, but kind of the thing that we as designers have to account for and deal with.
It controls the whole project, really, doesn't it?
Everything.
Yes.
So we were just having a brief chat about how we want to kind of lead today's conversation. So Joe said something really, really important that I quite like her to just repeat it to me, because obviously we all have slightly different angles, and her angle is really, really interesting. So
well, it's just because I've been with Katie for about a year now, and just been coming to all the meetings with her, and just sitting listening a lot of the time. And when
you say listening is more important than speaking.
Yeah, you definitely learn a lot. You learn a lot. But what really stands out to me is how clients, when asked that question, what is your budget?
Yes.
Really, a lot of the time, I would say the majority of the time, actually don't know what their budget is.
Yes.
And then they throw the question back at Katie and
what
ask,
would you suggest?
Yes, what would you suggest? So there's I've sort of come to a conclusion. There's like two budgets.
Yes.
The budget that we ask the client to give us, and they sometimes do, and then the budget, the actual budget as to what they want and how that can be fulfilled once we start doing designing and specifying.
Exactly. I think it's very well summarized. Two budgets. So their should I say desired budget, and the actual budget. So this is what we do as well once we start designing, because obviously budgets are important and we want to respect them. So we have an estimate budget and then the actual budget. It's very often, I think, it's basically maybe lack of education. Basically, we're trying to educate our clients and potential clients as well that it's tricky to say what exactly the budget should be or shouldn't be. Really finalize the design. So obviously we have indication, and because we have experience of working with very different budgets, different ranges, we have an idea. But because every project is very unique, when we say, okay, we would suggest minimum this budget, or we think that based on our conversations and what you're trying to achieve in a space, this budget would be probably a healthy budget, like a recommended budget. But it's virtually impossible to confirm it until we design things, because when we are in the process of designing, we obviously put the numbers next to things, but also there's this element of creativity and fulfilling the brief. So fulfilling the client's dream in this case is very, very important, and it's almost like there's no price to it.
No,
but there is.
But it's a great tool because once we've listened to the brief and we've written all the desires down, and then Katie mostly has transposed that into a design. It's really educational, like you said, but it's also it's a real eye opener to clients, isn't it?
Yes,
when they actually see how much things cost, and
exactly.
I think they have a pot of money that's going to be for the design, for the whole project, but they don't realize how many different avenues that money is going to have to be used for.
That's a very good point. So call them allocations. So obviously the money in the budget is distributed accordingly, but it's not always according. So there isn't a set rule for you have to spend this on that, this on that. Obviously there are things that are more expensive that we know of, for example, furniture, bespoke joinery. If it's a structural project, if it's not an FF&E project, that would be the structure, so things like putting in beams and or demolishing walls and things like that. So whenever there's a lot of labor involved, obviously there's more kind of money to it, if that makes sense. I think I've lost the plot.
You're doing really well.
I forgot what I wanted to say.
That's because Katie taught me how to do statements of work, and you basically write down everything that needs to be done on the project at the end of the design.
At the end of the design, and, precisely. That's a very good point to remember. Sorry to interrupt you, Joe. At the end, because we're not obviously when we come to clients' presentations, we show the proposed design with preliminary prices, and we try, as we go along, as we progress through the project, we try to obviously finalize the prices. But it's really only at the end when a client says, hey, I like this, I like this, I like that, and I want to proceed in this way, we can only get an accurate estimate.
Exactly.
Because part of the stuff that is involved in a project is not dependent on us. So something that we have to get estimates for, and we can't do that at the beginning when we start designing.
So it's right at the end of the project, before actually you start implementing the project, that you actually know what the final budget will be.
Exactly.
And we separate out pots of monies of the budget to try and incorporate that, but there's always the unknown unknowns.
Yes, there's always the unknown.
Yeah, so there has to be that sort of that if you know right from the beginning what your budget is, end finish line, we can then be able to
backwards.
and show and tell you how feasible that is going to be.
Exactly.
But if you don't know, then it's like saying,
it's
how long's really a piece
tricky.
of string?
Yes, it can be really tricky
Yeah.
because, like I mentioned at the beginning, each project is extremely unique, and each client is unique. We actually had a meeting with a lovely client, potential client today. We had a brief, well, it's called brief meet, we call it get to know you meeting, where we conduct a brief. We sat basically for 2 hours. It was like an interview, almost, but not very formal, very informal. And the client said something that really is a great recognition for us. She said, what I really liked about you is that when I looked through your portfolio, every single project was very different, and I liked that. And it wasn't necessarily my style, my taste, but I really loved that they were all different. And this is what we do. We are bespoke interior designers. We don't work with basically ready schemes. We don't have any schemes. What we typically do, we don't even reuse the fabrics, which can drive someone insane. But we barely reuse anything, because once they enveloped, once they
drives me insane to keep have to keep finding them.
They're gone. Yeah, exactly. They're filed, so they're assigned to a project. But basically, what it allows us to do is to create those unique bespoke designs. But obviously, that comes with an implication of the budget. So we would advise anyone who's thinking about a project, any size, think about the budget. Especially if you're going to speak to interior designers, so get professional expertise on the design of your space. They will ask about the budget, and you might feel maybe not confident, or I don't know. Actually, a lot of clients say, I'm not really sure what my budget should be.
No.
But it's a good starting point. Actually, quite a few years ago, I was asked, I was told this is our budget, because I kind of needed to know. And then I said, well, I really don't think this is going to work with this budget. So then the clients asked me, well, how much do you think we should increase it by? I said, minimum this. And they said, okay. Because I think maybe they were a little bit fearful of saying, because sometimes I think there's a common misconception of saying, of sharing the budget.
Yes.
But really, the most effective way is to share it with us.
Yeah.
Because with interior designers, I'll say with us, but with any professionals, because then they can really design something that suits the needs, the purpose, and also they can advise, like we do. Like, if we feel this is not enough, we just say we can't proceed because we feel we're not going to be able to the brief to fulfill your requirements based on what you're providing.
Yeah, but then there's no, that right from the start you get off on the right foot, don't you?
Yes,
because
exactly.
It's full and open discussion.
Makes such a difference.
Yeah, and I've noticed that too with going along with you, is that some people are very, when we say what's the budget, it's almost like, oh, don't talk about money. But you have to talk about money, because it's
money
we need to know,
or money talks.
Money
well,
we have to have that talk, because we want to get the best for you for what you can afford. Exactly. And so it's I think the big thing about money, for budgets, for me, is just to sit down beforehand, before you involve an interior designer, and really think about what you want to spend on the project, whether it's one room or a whole house, whether you think you want to knock walls, whether you think it's going to be a structural thing, or just furnitures and fittings and space planning.
So
really
what we call
think
FF&E.
about
FF&E. Exactly. Well, sometimes it's fine not to, we don't expect clients to know exactly that they're going to have to knock through the wall. Like today, for example, when we came in, we said, well, actually we feel like blocking an entrance, blocking part of the wall would be beneficial for the layout, based on what the client has said.
Yes, true.
So we don't expect the clients to tell us exactly, like, oh, we want to knock this wall, but just to have a very good idea of the budget, what you can afford. And also, one thing that should be said is always to have a little bit extra, because although we try to keep everything within the budget, and every good designer would, there are sometimes unexpected things that can happen, especially, so not so much on FF&E projects. So basically rooms where there isn't a lot of invasion in the structure. But projects where we are opening spaces up, or where we closing something, well, opening is more of a risk really, with closing not so much. So having a little bit of extra, having contingency, and if that means deducting from your top budget, that is absolutely fine. So having that, I don't know, between 10 to 20% extra, or deducting that from your total budget to allow for these things. And then if you are left with more money, then happy days.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So this is what we would advise in terms of the budgets. So just to summarize, think of the budget before, allow for contingencies, either have extra or deduct from your maximum total before you contact anybody, before you involve anybody. And it doesn't just mean interior designers, architects, anyone's involved in trade, joiners, decorators, anyone. Even if you're doing it on your own, you must have a budget before.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, not really. It's just, I mean, no matter what your budget, you know, I think that you should always, you know, go for it. Don't feel that you can't contact interior designers.
Oh yes, that's a very good point, Jo. Yes.
Because you're worried you won't have enough, because we'll be able to help you with that. We'll be able to inform you as to, you know, what you're going to need, just like Katie said earlier. And yeah, just contact us.
Exactly, if you have any queries.
Yeah, any questions.
But don't be shy. Also, if you have any questions now, we can stay one more minute live, or maybe a little bit more. So I can see that Alina, hi Auntie, Justina and Donata are with us. So if you have any questions, please do ask us. If any of you who will watch us a little bit later, then do please send us a message.
Yes.
or ask. Don't be shy. Basically, we know we don't bite. So and don't be ashamed, even if you think your budget might be low.
No, I mean, it's amazing, you know. So I think some people sometimes go, "Oh, really? We can do that for this," and are so pleasantly surprised. And then other people are, I want to have a palace for a very small budget. And
so it's
that's
about
a
being
bit of a
realistic.
wake-up call. Yeah,
Hello.
Exactly. Hello.
Nice to hear from somebody. Okay, so I suppose we're gonna finish for today. We might continue budgets next week, or come up with another topic. Again, as for every week, if you have any requests, if there's anything that you'd like us to talk about, then we're happy to receive the requests. We are always happy to do that. Otherwise, we'll just continue with our own ideas and what we
run out.
Exactly, and what we feel is really so we might continue on the subject or not, depending on the response from you guys. But thank you very much for joining us, especially those of you who have been with us since the beginning. Donata, thank you so much for staying with us. Oh, all of a sudden the light has appeared.
Gosh.
So thank you again, and thank you for supporting us and watching us, and see you next week. Next week it's not going to be Thursday, it's going to be Wednesday afternoon. So it's going to be Wednesday at 5:30 instead of Thursday at 5:30, because of a training on Thursday with Big Business and Adam Stott. Thank you, Adam, for your continuous support. If you're watching, you're not watching. We belong to a fabulous networking group, and we have monthly meetings on Thursdays. So sometimes we might shift the conversations to Wednesdays if it's more suitable. But we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.